Today we talk about papyrophobia, the irrational fear of paper. Paperwork. I'm sure the paperwork gives you a little bit of a concern when you get ready to list your house. Today we're going to talk about that. Here we are at 211 Puritan in Roslyn Farms, a beautiful house, and we're going to talk about the scariest thing, paperwork. Scariest time of the year? Scariest part of real estate? Papyrophobia, the irrational fear of paperwork. Okay, scariest time of the year and the scariest thing, paperwork. That's what we're going to talk about today. I told you a little bit in the lead-in about papyrophobia, which is the fear, irrational fear of paperwork. Listing your house requires quite a bit of paperwork. It's nerve-wracking. The thing we're going to talk about, the first thing is your listing contract. The listing contract is 4 pages long. And these 4 pages have to do with everything about your house. Where your house is located, what you're offering people, which means what am I including in the sale of my house? Is my refrigerator staying? Some things have to be included if they are integral to the house. Stovetops, microwaves that are built in get included. But that has to be listed in here. It also has to do with how we're going to show the house. We're going to put a lockbox on the door. We're going to need an appointment. There's going to be a sign in the yard. All these things are part of the contract. Other parts of the contract that are equally as important are we have to be equal opportunity housing people, so we can't decide who's going to come and see the house. It also allows your real estate agent that you've selected to be able to market the house for you. It gives her the freedom to send out her flyers, her emails concerning your house. 2 very important things that people are always concerned about in this contract, which you should be also, are how long is the contract? How do I terminate? You need to give your real estate agent ample time to sell the house. Having a very short contract makes it very difficult for a realtor to sell, depending on time of year, depending on location. She needs at least 3 to 6 months to sell the house. And depending on the location, it may take longer than that to have an actual sale of the house. And finally, the commission, which is always negotiable. So everything we've talked about in the contract, with the exception of a few things, are negotiable and need to be talked about with you. 4 pages long. The next really important thing we're going to discuss is... The first thing we talked about was the listing contract, which is a negotiation between you and the real estate agent you're working with that has a lot of elements to it that I went through with you briefly. The next thing is your homework. It's the seller's disclosure. And exactly what that says, it's a seller's disclosure. You are to fill this out. It is 9 pages long, has a lot of really pertinent questions about the house. You need to sit down and really go through this and fill it out as accurately as you can. Some of them will be unknown, some of them won't apply to you. But they have some very basic things like, do you have your survey? Are you going to provide your survey to your real estate agent? It's going to ask you about all the appliances that we talked about earlier. Some things that are affixed to the house and some things that are not. You have to list everything in here. It's going to talk about your air conditioning, your heating, the age of your roof. All these things are really important to disclose to a potential buyer. So part 2, seller's disclosure, 9 pages long. Part 3, the rest of this paperwork is required for you to be able to list your house. A consumer notice, not a contract, talks about agency, buyer agency, seller agency. The residential input form, measurement of your rooms, talks about all the things that your house has. And this is what they actually use to input into the computer, which eventually goes into all of the websites that you see, Zillow, Realtor.com, HowardHanna.com, this information off of this residential input. Lead-based paint addendum has to be filled out if your house was built before 1978. Oil, gas, and mineral rights. Very important now in Pennsylvania. There's 2 different forms that you have to fill out. Maybe you're not providing the oil, gas, and mineral rights when you transfer the house. Home warranty. Do I want a home warranty? Do I not want a home warranty? And finally, the one that really is an important one at the end is, what's it going to cost me to sell this house? This list of estimated costs lets you know what your return will be, an approximation at settlement. So it talks about the transfer tax in Pennsylvania. It talks about the commission fee. It talks about all the things that you potentially need to worry about for your bottom line. Paperwork. We talked about it today. This is the very basics of it. Call me if you have questions. Thanks for being with me again today and talking about papyrophobia, the irrational fear of paperwork.